This segment will discuss programming comparator instructions in statement list programming. First, we will discuss the configuration of the instructions, and then demonstrate adding them to a statement list program. This section builds upon the information discussed in the general comparison segment, and it would be advisable if you have viewed that segment first. You may also need to review the data conversion instruction segments, as they may be required prior to performing a comparison operation. As discussed in the general segment, there are 18 different comparator instructions, 6 functions to compare data in 3 different data types. All of these instructions, however, operate and are configured in a very similar manner, so there is no need to discuss each one separately. In STL, comparator instructions operate on the 2 accumulators, the standard and ACC2. The values to be compared must be loaded into these 2 registers prior to performing the actual comparison. Each can be configured as either a memory address or as a constant value. Memory locations must be the correct size and data type, and constants must also be entered as the correct type. For example, when performing a real comparison, constants must be entered in floating point format, which means with a decimal point. When configuring comparison operations in statement list, it is important to keep in mind the expression that you want to accomplish, and then load the values in the correct order. The value that is in ACC2 will be treated as the primary value in a comparison expression. Therefore, if I want to determine if marker word 0 is greater than 5, I would first have to load MW0, then load 5, at which time the value from MW0 would be pushed into ACC2, and 5 will be in the standard accumulator. I would then use an integer greater than instruction. When a comparison command is executed in STL, neither of the accumulators will be affected. However, the result of the logic operation, or RLO, will be set if the expression is true. In Step 7 software, first use the load command, L, twice, to load the 2 values into the accumulators. First, I will load the value that I want to compare. This will typically be a memory address. Next, I will load the value that I want to compare the first one to. This can be a constant or an address. Next, I'll enter the comparison command. In this case, it will be an integer greater than. Lastly, I'll turn on an output based on the RLO to complete the code. With the block now downloaded and running in the processor, we can monitor the program online. When monitoring statementless code, we need to follow the data and the RLO at each step of the code. We can see that after the first load, the value of 10 from MW0 has been moved into the standard accumulator. Following the second load, the value from the standard has been bumped into ACC2 and has been replaced by 5. Because 10 is greater than 5, the greater than operation is true and the RLO is set. This segment has discussed programming comparison instructions in statement list programming. More details on performing these operations in ladder logic, as well as the data conversion instructions, can be found in separate segments.